Good morning, everyone. This is Kathy Mason from Mason Works Marketing here on Conscious Business Zone with my friends Katherine and Makasha Roske. Hi there, you guys. How are you?
Hello. Hi,
Hello.
happy to be here on your
Yes,
show.
yes.
Thank
I
you,
wish
Kathy.
we were together in person, but this will
Yeah.
have to do for now. But
Yeah.
the reason I was so excited that my friends decided that they could help share their knowledge today is that these are an amazing resource for any of you that are trying to put a holistic spin on your business where it serves you in all ways, where the commercial endeavor serves you, the spiritual side serves you, the consciousness side serves you. And we have 50 years of experience here sitting on this interview with Makasha and Katherine. So why don't we start with how you all got started? I know how you met because I remember that story. It was through their children, but so how did you said you really are on the evolutionary edge of of consciousness and the infinite possibilities of it. And so
Mm.
how did your search start with, was it by meeting inspiring people? How did this all start for you?
Well, I'm going to just share a little bit and then let Makasha launch in. Because when we met, which is you referenced our story a little bit through our children, it was through a alternative school that I had started in Boulder, that co-founded in Boulder, and Makasha brought his children, who two of his children, who were then 12 and 13 years old, to the school. It was based on the Summerhill model, free school that really supported the whole child in their learning and supported them in following where their passion wanted to go, rather than laying down a whole overlay onto them. So that was our beginnings. And when we met, I felt like for me, there was activated a code of understanding of whole systems transformation. Like,
Wow.
as our consciousness evolves, how does every part of our whole social system need to shift, whether it be business or how we birth or educate our children, how we govern ourselves, how we deal with money, just the whole circle,
Right.
which Barbara Marx Hubbard, who influenced us greatly, and we met her first in 1974, has all these 12 sectors of transformation. And so the whole system is transforming, and we're seeing it now more than ever. But back in the 70s, when we came together, we just felt a calling to really live our lives, as you said, on the evolutionary edge, to address what is new and wanting to emerge that aligns with our values, as and then how do structures and systems need to transform to really reflect the consciousness that we're
Mhm.
opening to. Yeah.
Yeah, well said.
Yes.
When we look at the path that we were guided on, I was in Vegas and I was a producer and high, trying to be somebody out there in the world of glamour and money and sex and rock and roll, and so I started having these mystical experiences, which I had no reference point to them, but I had a major mystical experience in the Valley of Fire outside of Las Vegas. And it was about a 14-hour experience, and I was told to take my kids out of school. They're shame institutions, turn off the television, they enculturate your kids. And in order to do that, I had to let go of everything of my past personality, but I didn't know that. This was all part of an internal guidance system. And I ended up hitchhiking with three kids and a pregnant woman in 1972 to a rainbow festival over the mountains from Boulder at Granby. And that started this whole search for how do we really raise our kids and take them out of school. They're shamed because I was shamed in school. I was a seventh grade dropout, and I was a money maker. I made money, and I had my Lincolns and Cadillacs, and my dad loved it. I was successful, and through that process, the question came up. Well, how do we do our spiritual sadhana or our spiritual work? How do we bring that to everything, as Katherine was saying, that really is value oriented at a different level than lesson gain, which is the ROI bottom line takes us automatically into separation. So, boy, there's an alchemical journey that we've been on for the last 50 years here with community, but building the values and being able to support a whole nother process of what I call nonlinear economics, which I'm going to do a whole book on it because I have experience in watching spirit donate into the consciousness as we have needs. And we've got a lot of stories over the years that I think will be helpful for people to trust and really go into faith and that going more vertical of really the biblical terms. Seek ye first the kingdom, and all these things will be given unto you. And I'm not saying that as a Christian. I'm saying that as a guiding light for where we're going in relationship to the polarity of win-lose games.
Exactly.
And so I've started a social venture capital company back in the 80s, and we can talk more about that later, but that was all based on whole system decision from financial gain, cultural, ecological, and social gain. Because like you were saying, you had to have all those in place to be able to even transfer money or consciousness into the conscious realm. Conscious investors, commerce, conscious commerce, those elements we were doing back in the 70s. So that's a little bit about how we came together, and I'm 83, going on 83 now, and I'm still out playing golf.
Well, you also have a community, so you walk your talk. That's why a lot of the people on Conscious Business Zone may not have heard of you before, but they may have heard of your community called Hummingbird. Could you tell us a little bit about Hummingbird, please?
Yeah, we'd like to. Love to.
Family enterprises.
So we had back in the 80s, we joined forces with Carolyn Anderson and Barbara Hubbard with Global Family, which the vision of that was moving beyond fear and separation to unity and love. And we were all involved with putting on Harmonic Convergence, which was in 1987, which some of the viewers may have participated in, and some may never have heard of, but it was quite a global link up. It was people in sacred sites all over the world that were praying together for peace, for the betterment of humanity and the raising of consciousness. So we came together with Global Family, which was doing international events and peace work all around the world. And then we started Global Family Enterprises, which was a business devoted to bringing spirit into business and using co-creative practices, which we've also been pioneering, which is moving from a dominator model into a circular, a co-creative, empowering people to express their soul's purpose.
Well,
and in the midst of doing Global Family Enterprises, we realized that we had a shared dream of really bringing it to the ground and living it 24/7. How do we actually live the values that we are devoted to together on communities? So this is our Hummingbird website. And this was 1996 that we started Hummingbird, and we're still here, going strong. And Hummingbird Transformational Living Center is our nonprofit for the expression of our educational programs. And then you can see the Co-Creators Handbook, which I co-authored with Carolyn Anderson. And there's been a number of additions to it. This is the latest one. And these are really very practical practices that express the principles of how do we, as I said, express our soul purpose, come together with others in shared purpose, learn how to do decision making and conflict resolution in a way that we can experience the greatest resonance together to be able to create functional, thriving businesses.
Well, when I first met you, I was lucky enough to get an older version of the Co-Creators Handbook, and I was amazed at how useful a document it is, because there's so much of the way that we live, we don't even realize how it's structured win-lose. It really isn't co-creating.
Yeah.
It really isn't. It's about dominating or pushing agendas. Could you explain a little bit more about what co-creation is and how you live it? Because I think people will want to have an experience of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, can we go?
Well, I'll just dive in. I think, Kathy, what you're referring to and what we're doing is looking at a new pattern, a new what I call the field which is moving us more into co-creation because of the breakdown and breakthroughs that are happening. We have to look at systems, to be able to transform them in the human, dimension of our shared purposes with others, and how that we cultivate a deep sense of communion in the world of intimacy and clarity and coherence. So I call it more soul-based communities. It's based on not the egoic illusion of getting a bunch of people together, but by self-organizing systems that bring people into resonance that are supposed to come together because they're designed for that. And so we look for that in all of our activities, and making decisions is a big part of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we oftentimes define co-creation as really that our vertical connection with spirit, and then how do we allow the force of creation to express through us with others. So it's a relational path to awakening, where it's really, being with each other in respectful, deep listening, loving, kind ways, and drawing forth the best of each other, so we really do express our soul's purpose into the world, because we each have a reason that we're here. And so often we compromise that because we have a job that is diminishing for us, or isn't really feeding our life force or bringing forth our greatest essence.
Joy.
So it's a movement from ego to essence to, our really deep soul-centric way of being. And then how that translates out into, like Makasha said, decision making. How do we make a decision that takes in the whole, whole systems decision making, where we take regard for how is our decision affecting the earth, or how is it affecting people of different races and different colors, of different nationalities, or our children, future generations, or so it's really taking in regard a much greater field than just fulfillment of our individual personal needs.
So is some of this going back to the indigenous way of living on the earth? It seems like we're in I keep calling it, we're in the dark ages and we're going to the Renaissance. And underlying before the dark ages, there was knowledge, if you look at historically, and then it sort of went underground, and then it came out to the Renaissance. And we have the opportunity with this time of that we're in right now, where so many people are having more time and a chance to work on themselves, do the inner work that's so necessary. We have the chance to go to this Renaissance, but the Renaissance guidelines, if you want to say, you can't do the old normal. It has to be this rebirth, this what Barbara called it, what did she call it, the Homo Universalis, this new human. Do you want to speak to that? Because I think you have keys to all of this incremental milestone changes to get us there that people may not know about.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'd like to say, just to go back a little bit, Kathy, is that, we also were co-founders of the Waldorf School in Boulder. So we've been looking at educational models. We also have a youth organization. So we practice our values so that the repetition for the kids, even though they're empowered to find their soul purpose and to express it in the world, but with the values of kindness and goodness and respect and compassion. We're going through the deepest time of the greatest suffering that's exposed in the mind's eye. Mm. And for us to be able to, cultivate a coherent way of being in relationship in business, because that's where we saw that business is a transforming vehicle, because we have to work with those polarities because they're loss and gain frequencies. So whenever you make a thing, you look at the bottom line of the ROI, but most business people don't look at it. They don't know the impact. What are our impact of the choices that we make? Conscious investing, commerce, consumption, all those are value oriented, not as an ism or a philosophy that you have to vibe, but just by understanding spiral dynamics or the shifting into a higher pattern, which is integral, in terms of evolution. And it's a higher synthesis, it's metamorphic that we're going through. So we can put all these systems that are in place to talk about where we're really at, because if we don't know that, we're just out there in the loss and gain. You're going to lose anyway. I mean, at some level, you know what I mean? And so we've devoted our lives as ministers. We married our children, we birthed our children. We're up to 24 grand and 24 great grand, and we got another one coming that's beyond that. It's beyond the beyond. But we're really invested in, in the future of our children, not from reaction, but how do we step out of the dominant culture and go build a new world rather than reacting out of the illusion of separation from spirit. So it's a deep, alchemy, it's a spiritual path, it's a conscious path, and it's a whole path that can allow people to come together and love each other.
I want to respond also to your question, because I think because we've been so influenced by conscious evolution, both Barbara coming into our lives in the mid-70s, and then also very strong connections with Sri Aurobindo and the mother. And Sri Aurobindo is considered to be the father of conscious evolution, and which is really recognizing that we're on this evolutionary journey. And and we're not going. You started your question with, are we going back to indigenous ways? And for us, I think it's incorporating the best of each era, or all the various wisdom teachings through the ages, and yet we're moving forward. So we can't deny the whole technological influence,
right?
But how do we incorporate it with values? How do we use it in a conscious way, rather than being?
We're doing that right now. I mean, really, when you look at what the opportunity, if we would have had the lockdowns before 4 or 5 years ago, it would have been a different experience. We're still able to connect. And in fact, in a lot of ways, we're reaching bigger audiences, and more people can learn and grow and be ignited. Because I really think what you're doing is igniting people's passions. They kind of got lost off the path of morality and love. And you can show them as way showers, well, this functionally works. This isn't theory, which a lot of Barbara Marx Hubbard's work was theory. It wasn't grounded. You are making it real.
Yeah. And I just want to say one note in in reference to the time frame that we're in and how to hold that is why we created the Patreon platform.
Okay.
To be able to look at what's going on, Kathy, through evolutionary eyes. What is in other words, rather than reacting and out of fear, because fear is so predominantly running the whole gamut out there, is how do we hold together as knowing that we are, in relationship to the rest of the, world and planet. So the Patreon is to really give people a platform, a place to find others, a place to understand more about the metamorphic journey we're in through our Patreon platform. And so we'd love to invite anybody that would like to join us on that. We're in exploration, but it's about really building community, a community at a resonant and heart level, and where we're going and how we're going together. We're going home together. I always say we're going home together.
Well, and are you finding a certain age group is more? I mean, you've mentioned about your kids and your grandkids, and I know your community has all ages. Have you found that there's a curiosity level at any specific group of people? The reason I'm asking is I think 4 years ago, I got to help with a group that would, I think it's called ISSS, and they do systems science engineering. And Ernest Laszlo's son, Alexander, was there, and there was a lot of talk about we need systems first to make social change. And you've created some of those systems. You're functionally running a community and have for years. Is that part of what you're sharing? And what group of people do you hope to serve?
Well, I think the people we feel that are drawn to be in interaction with us are on a conscious path, but they appreciate that we've been pioneers out there for all these decades,
Yeah.
and we hear from a lot of younger people how much they yearn for relationship with elders, and that they don't oftentimes find many elders in their life that they can truly relate to. So they feel, they're kind of more in the silo of their generation. And so we're really devoted to intergenerational dynamics, where we can all be learning from each other and there's mutual respect. And so I would say the people that are involved with us in the community here and on the Patreon site and in our work span generations. And as Makasha mentioned, we have a youth organization as well, Earth Guardians.
Might want to put that up, Kath.
Earth Guardians is geared more toward kids in high school and I would say college age. And it also is very much empowering young people to take action on behalf of the earth. So there's field teams.
Grandson, right? Your
Pardon?
grandson? Didn't your
Yeah,
grandson start it?
no, he didn't start it. We started it with our daughter
Oh, okay.
back in Hawaii in the 90s.
Okay.
And initially our kids and some of our grandkids were involved in it. And then our daughter Tamara continued it on and has really been the force behind it these last 20 years or so. And her son, Chutescott, is right there. I think you were just pointing to him.
Yeah.
Is a real leader in the movement. He's spoken at the United Nations, to the General Assembly, and he's just been a voice for young people to both really encourage them to step forward and have their voices be heard on important matters, especially those related to caring for the earth. Yeah.
Well, and I think that's why I was hoping to show all of these websites, because people may not know about Hummingbird, or they may not know exactly how to get a hold of you, but your work is apparent. It's been prolific, and I appreciate it so much. I wanted to also share about your living co-creation site. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, and I'll share it on the screen if you.
Sure.
That'd be great.
Okay.
So we started Living Co-Creation about 6 years ago with Carolyn Anderson and her husband Sanford, and we started it as a way to really be able to get co-creative teachings out into the world more. And so we've done teachings in India, in Australia, and in Germany. We did a workshop for 300 people in Germany a couple years ago. Um, and so it's a vehicle for our teachings. We also do consulting work through Living Co-Creation. So for those of you with businesses and you want to see how to just keep them moving up the spiral and being more of a pioneering organization, or really moving out of the dominator model, we all need support in these arenas, because the
Yes.
we need to, like Makasha said, we're all going home together, and we need each other to make these big changes, to break through the mainstream, to bring forth new ways of being, which is really been our devotion for
And
the last
I
few
think
years.
the language, I think that there's almost a missing part of the language which brings it into form in the common conversation. I mean, if people have been following some of the futurists that paint a positive possible future for us, they may be familiar with some of it, but again, that's why I brought up the structures or the systems. You've already been experimenting with your co-creative handbook and with your community all these years, how to make it better, how to communicate at a different level, how to actually raise the participants back so they recognize their divinity and can share it at that level. And that's really what I hope we're going towards.
Yeah, beautifully said.
Yeah, that's very beautiful. The other thing I wanted to share is, the systems that we put in place with Earth Guardians. We're in about 70 countries now with on-the-ground projects in environment and planting trees and bringing more awareness and issues, confronting those issues of dominance and, more really a force. It's like a force. And I also want to say the work isn't outside, it's inside. When I was guided back in the Vision Quest back in 1974, after we did a John Lennon tribute stadium event in Boulder, after that we went into the desert, and I was told everything outside is inside. So if you change yourself, everything around it's metaphysical. It's a cult, actually.
Yes.
And so that's been a guiding force for me. That's not out there. Stop pointing the finger. There's no shame, no blame. We're in this metamorphic journey together, so wake up
That's,
and
that's
let's be alive.
yes. And have some fun with it. This wasn't meant
Absolutely.
to be, this was supposed to be divine experience. And
Yeah.
people stood in line to get these bodies to be here right now during this huge change. And here we are, and here you are with great resources to help anyone who has the need for mentorship or consulting advice. I mean, here you just have a wealth of experience that could help guide anyone and make their life so much easier.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
I just want to say, that we have a line of values, respect, compassion, kindness, all that. And down at the bottom of our values is the bottom line is no fun, no do.
No,
So the joy of the curiosity of the inner child has to be having fun. Otherwise, why do it? That's what Joseph Campbell said, years ago.
right?
You know,
Well,
uh,
that otherwise it's not in resonance to manifest anyway. I
yeah,
really think that's what you're seeing right now is these, I don't want to call it two-dimensional experiences, but it's almost like there is the joy path and then the heavy fear path that you're seeing that's
yeah,
manifesting right now. And
yeah.
we're divine sovereign beings, and we can choose to not be in the fear path and create with the divine, the new earth. And that's where I was so excited that you said yes when I asked if you wanted to be on, because you guys, this is the opportunity that you may have been looking for a long time and not known about Makasha and Katherine, but now you do. I'll have all of their links in the description, and I really hope that you will spend some time looking at their websites and call them. You can see there's no ego here. This is all in service to the divine, in service to this new creation that we're all part of. Is there, what is the best way for people to get a hold of you? Would it be to go, which site would be their best, or email, or,
I think our living co-creation
okay,
site
Go
for
to our bio.
communicating with us, and then jumping on the Patreon platform if you feel called to be with us in once or twice a month gatherings of folks in a really beautiful community setting, online community setting.
that's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, so
So thank
that
you,
sounds
Kathy.
perfect. That sounds perfect. Well, so, and I guess I'm going to ask one last question. What is your hope for 2021? That everything's smoothly. I know we're in a mess. I mean, it can be a heavy mess or a fun mess. So what is our way that you are looking at the positive, or I'm putting a positive spin on it, positive possibilities for the metamorphosis that we're going through for 2021?
Well, from my perspective, we're going, as we've been talking about, a time of great transformation. And so that which is not based in truth is breaking down. And so I think we're going to be going through a lot more of that. But if we hold it in the context that we call the great unraveling, um, and that happens, in the personal life as well. So I just wanted to reference back, we were talking about no fun, no do, and doing things for joy. But there's also in that deep inner journey, there's a process that oftentimes is not so comfortable, or we may experience some suffering. So it's not to say none of that goes on, but if we can hold it, that we're being born into, we're creating together. We could say a new world or a new earth, or a new way of being that is deeply connected with source. So my hope that 2021 is it's catalyzing us in that direction, where we come more in touch with what's really most important in our own lives, that we follow our hearts with that individually, and that we come together in greater community and communion to really bring forth together the world we all dream is possible, as Charles Eisenstein so beautifully says. Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah, I think Katherine, has addressed that. My feeling is in relationship to what's emergent, cultivating a way of being able to process the feelings and start building community. I'm really a community builder. That's my guidance for 50 years. I've been doing through international festivals and link ups and all that. And now we're putting it on the ground and building social systems that we feel will be able to be utilized for future generations, because we got the values tied into it and process tied into it. And yet, and just empowering these young ones that are coming and want to do permaculture and biodynamic farming and, building a new world. They want to build. They're here, and I just hope that, and give my mana'o, my Hawaiian word for my energy, to the future generations as I move into the caterpillar time of my what I call the Grove of the Elders, which is based on Bill Plockton's work as I prepared my exit out of here, and you guys can have fun with the rest of it.
Well, I hope you stick around for a while, and I hope everyone, again, in my audience, will take advantage of the opportunity to learn from these amazing beings who have put so much
Thank you.
energy and love into creating ways for all of us to live a much happier future and create a world to leave to our children and grandchildren that we can really be
Yeah.
proud of. So thank you so much. Bless you so much for
Thank you,
everything
Kathy, for this
you do.
opportunity.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Blessings.
See you soon. I hope. I hope. I hope.
Okay. All right. Let's have it
Bye-bye.
be.
Oh,
Bye-bye.